Our author discusses studies that indicate that our temperaments, those aspects of our personality that are innate, even biological in nature, are ruled by chemical reactions in the portion of the brain called the amygdala. An active amygdala seems to correlate strongly with introversion and the resulting behaviors associated with introversion, like quiet introspection. A less active amygdala seems to correlate strongly with extroversion and the resulting behaviors associated with extroversion, like public speaking. A person can learn behaviors in spite of the amygdala's neurochemical preference for avoidance of those behaviors. So, there can be overlap between the I world and the E world. However, that would require conscious thought and decision making. In other words, focused behavior requires conscious effort. In brain chemistry terms, the neurochemical process of the frontal cortex would have to overcome the neurochemical process of the amygdala. The introvert could learn to perform public speaking, and the extrovert could learn to perform quiet introspection. Both would have to make a conscious effort to develop the skills and habits needed to perform in the other world. So this prompted me to think about how we might measure the effort to move across temperamental boundaries. I came up with the idea that time is a key measure. While time spent does not necessarily dictate that I will master a skill or create a habit to make me successful at a behavior in the unnatural state, it is a necessary precondition. If I do not spend the time, I cannot master skills or develop the habits for my other brain parts to overwhelm my amygdala's neurochemical activity. So, if you humor my premise that we need to set aside time for the frontal cortex to do its job, and that it takes conscious effort to master at least a part of the other world, then two conclusions must follow. First, it is easier to understand why operating in the other world tires us and we must retreat to our home world to recover. Effort equates to work, and work in a chemical and physics sense requires energy. Second, it takes time, and as we can show, we have so overwhelmed both our students and teachers with requirements on their time, there is no time left for mastery of the other world skills. I think that bears repeating. If one does not invest the time to train against temperament's neurochemical pull in the amygdala, then how can we make the chemical process from the frontal cortex overwhelm the chemical process from the amygdala? We have to study the 168. We have to actually provide ourselves with the time for the effort to focus our behavior to work in areas that ordinarily we would avoid. I borrow a lesson from Virginia Tech called the 168 drill. Consider that there are 7 days a week and 24 hours a day. Hence we have 168 hours in a week, no more and no less. Take a look at the 168 drills for an athlete, band member, and thespian. All of these programs certainly have benefits for our students, but at what cost? I have had students complete these and include requirements for other activities like work and babysitting siblings. I make them think about choices they make with their time to include texting and Facebooking. I also wonder, when we acknowledge that many students find time for many activities by robbing sleep, whether or not they are doomed to failure because they will not have the energy left to consciously master the other world skills they need. Conduct your own 168. Where does your time go? Do we make time for anyone, I or E, to actually develop their potential in the opposite world. And if we investigate the link between introversion and creativity, that the author will discuss at great length, what does that say about our efforts at school reform when we do not allocate sufficient time to do so? Note the link at the bottom of the page. I borrowed the Innovation Pipeline graphic from their logo. Note the emphasis in the survey on that web page and the references to time. What is one of your biggest challenges? Is it time to teach, time to think, time to read, time left for family, or time to work with a student? Has science and technology helped or hindered the process of moving ourselves or our students into the other world? And for later discussion, what comes first, academic skills or character? Know anyone named Allison? Should her parents and her school, or her school, have ensured she developed certain character traits that would have given her more choices? Finally, as this slide would suggest, fresh ideas don't just happen. Our author will discuss in some great detail the link between introversion and creativity. And I reflect often on the fact that we're supposed to be innovative in our school and classrooms so that we come up with new and fresh ideas on how we might help our students learn more quickly or prepare more thoroughly for a changing world. So I hope that all this helps create some discussion, and we'll look forward to some of your ideas when we get together.